Hello, in this video I will show you how to read the content of an Excel file that you received attached to an email. So you will do it with Procesio and you will see it's quite simple, require only a few actions that you can see on the screen, starting with the inbound email action where you will fetch your inbox looking for some specific email. When you get this email, you will extract the first element of this email, so the Excel file that is attached to this email. And at the end, we will read the content of this Excel file and it will output JSON with all the content of the Excel files. And of course, after you can do whatever you want with this JSON. So let's open Procesio. I have already created the process and I will show you step by step how to do it. So we start with this inbound email action. I won't show you how to create the credential to connect to your email service. It's quite simple. I will put the link to the Procesio documentation when you can find all the information. It's quite easy. So it's already configured on my side. What is interesting here in this inbound email action is that you can filter which email you want to fetch. And I have two kind of filter here. I have the subject, and here it's an example. So I want to look at the email name Procesio test, and I want to look only the email received after a specific date. So have a look at the date and the format of the date because there is some misspelling in the Procesio documentation. So it should be on this form. So year, months, and a day. Then next in this inbound email action, you can attach a variable of type list of JSON. This is what you will receive from this inbound email action, but not so important in this context. What is more important is this file here. So you have to create a variable which is a list of file because in the attachment you could have different files attached to your email, and that's why it returns a list. So here, if I click on it, you will see, so it's a variable that I name files of type file, and it is a list. Okay. So then when you have these files, you have to process it and you push it to the get X element. So the idea of this action is to extract the first element of your list of files. In my example, I have just one file attached to my email, so I ask to have the first one. If you had different files, you can even loop through all of these files with this for each action, but here I just want the first file. And it returns another variable, which is my file, you see, without the S, which is a file, okay, here, and this is just a single file. Okay, so now that we have our Excel, let's see how we can extract the content of it. So we add a get file data, and as you can see here, it said that it helps you to extract the content of an Excel or CSV file as well. So to use it, you of course in input put the file that we get from this previous node, and you have to map the content and the column of your Excel to a data model. Okay, so I will show you first the Excel that I have created. So this is my example Excel example file. So I have three columns: first name, last name, and ID with the me data. And so what I want to do is to be able to have a JSON containing all of these rows, and the key will be the name of the column, and the value will be all of this data. So, okay, I show you how to create a data model. So here on the side, you have a data model button. You click on it, and this is where you can create data model. So I have created a data model called name ID, okay, and I have create different attributes, one attribute for per column. So I have one attribute called first name of type string, last name type string, and my ID, which is of type integer. So it's important to have the correct type and that match the content of your Excel. Here it's an integer, so it has to be integer. Otherwise, you will have an error when you will run your process. So I have my data model, and what is expected now in this get file data nodes, it's a list of data model. You have to think that every rows of your Excel file will be one object of this data model. So you will have at the end, you will have a list of rows, and so a list of data models. So in Procesio, you need to create a variable, and I have created this variable, which is so a list of my data model. So if you create a list of data model, you instead of choosing a boolean or whatever float or string, you go and you look for your data model you have just created, and you say that it is a list, and it will create this variable for you. Okay, and this is this variable that you need to use to store your data, and all the rows of your Excel will be stored in this list of data model. Then you need to link the data model structure to your Excel structure. So I will show you, for example, I will delete this ID. You see, it's very easy. So in your Excel file, you know that you have a column named ID, and you will map it to your data model ID. So I'll show you. Okay, data model ID here. And then you save, and that will work now. I will show you with an example. So I have sent an email to my mailbox with this Excel file attached with the correct subject in the title. And so if I run it now, you will see that we will output a JSON with all the data of the rows. So let's have a look at the process instance, show the details. Okay. Okay. So you see, very fast to run. Let's have a look at the output, the variables. And you see here, this is what we want at the end of this get file data action. We want our list of data model. If we click on it, so you see, I have my JSON with my key being the name of the column. And here you have the value that are the value of each rows. So now you can do whatever you want with the JSON. You can push it to another table if you want to store in Google Sheet or Notion table, whatever, or send email if you collect email. So I hope it helps, and let me know in your comments if you have any more question. Thank you.